I should note they appear headed for their first 90-loss season since 2016, which is a decade ago. But it's also noteworthy because they lost 100 and something games in 2016 after a long stretch of horrible seasons. And that finally was the straw that broke the Pohlad's back, and they fired Terry Ryan and basically the entire regime,
right,
and brought in Derek Falvey for the 2017 season. Thad Levine along with him. And then a couple years after that, they replaced Molitor with Baldelli as manager. But it is, I don't know, maybe sadly fitting that we've kind of full circled our way back to the point that the Twins are almost as bad, or possibly just as bad, as they were the year that caused them to fire Terry Ryan after 20-something years at the helm and bring in what is the current regime, which I certainly, and I think even you at this point, have some real question marks about beyond all the own. I mean, look, we spent last episode basically entirely solely discussing the Pohlads and the non-sale and all that stuff. And one of my goals this week was to kind of just get back to baseball. However ugly the baseball is, like, get back to the on-field stuff. And so we're definitely going to do that. It's not all that encouraging, the on-field stuff. But setting aside, I mean, we've been so focused on the Pohladian aspect of everything.
Yep. And I think we will be in the future.
For sure. I mean, it's unavoidable. We talked about that last week. But I also just mean, like, it looms over everything to the extent that even discussing like Baldelli status or Falvey and Jeremy Zoll, the GM, discussing the front office's status, it gets tied back inevitably to, well, you know, we were talking about if a new owner comes in, they might clean house no matter what. Whereas now we know new owners aren't coming in, and we know the Pohlads for 40 years have been sort of very patient, I guess you could call it loyal, with, you know, the guys they have in place. And so I certainly think that greatly diminishes the odds of the front office being fired. I think it greatly diminishes the odds of Baldelli being fired. I know you think there's a little higher odds at the very least than I do. We talked about it on the last Patreon, but I almost feel like that the fact that those are linked back to the Pohlads and ownership kind of provides a weird shield for the front office and the manager, because it's like you talk so much about,
sure, of course it does. Yeah. I mean,
what will the ownership do with these guys, or how does the ownership situation affect their job status? And it, in a weird way, it leaves less time to just talk about the fact that they haven't done a very good job for 5 years.
Well, I mean, you can also, I mean, it can be a double-blind situation, right? Which is, we know that what triggered a lot of this was ownership's decision to start slashing payroll while they were in the middle of an upswing. In terms of, you know, they completely reversed the momentum of this franchise from from something which, you know, you spend a little more, but then you make a little bit more money, and now you can spend a little bit more. There's a nice natural cycle that goes there when things are going well, and when you cut that at the knees, you can start a negative cycle, which is what we're seeing, right? We're saying, well, no, we're going to spend a little less. Oh, look, we have a little less success. Now we're going to spend a little less. Oh, look, now we have to spend a little less because we didn't get the revenues that we thought we were going to get. And now you're seeing sort of a negative cycle on the way down. So I still would put this at the feet of ownership. I would put the vast majority of what we are seeing at the feet of ownership, right? But ownership can't fire itself. And ownership at some point has to make some changes, and that tends to follow a certain path. That path usually starts with you start with some assistant coaches, and then you head up to the manager, and then you head up to the front office, and then ownership. Then you do a rebuild, right? And I don't expect that path to change much. I mean, that's just the way that works.
Well, I mean, they're already holding the line longer on that path than most teams in their situation.
Maybe, yeah, potentially.
I mean, we talked about this last year in October and November. It's like, oh, they're just nobody's getting fired. Yeah, the hitting coaches are the only. Here's what's also remarkable: the only guys who got fired because as a direct result of last year's collapse were the 3 hitting coaches, because the hitting was abysmal down the stretch. The main hitting coach, David Popkins, immediately got a job with the Toronto Blue Jays as their main hitting coach. And the Blue Jays have, I think, either the number 1 or the number 2 offense in the league. And the Twins replaced him and 2 others with 3 new guys, including Matt Borgschulte, who had been their AAA hitting coach and was in Baltimore for a while. And now the Twins' offense is one of the worst in baseball. And it's been a season-long issue before the trade deadline, after the trade deadline. And no one else really got fired. And I'll even include players. Like, they didn't even trade away any core players.
Sure.
And so I keep coming back to, I agree with all you said. I mean, nobody has been harsher on ownership than me and you. And there's no need to downplay the domino effect or the trickle down effect of crappy ownership and slash payroll and, you know, cutting success off at the knees after 2023. I do believe that just rolls downhill and it affects everything. And you can easily see it just caused them to not have any resources to spend on free agents. But that didn't stop you from making trades. I mean, you don't necessarily need big money to make trades, to trade a, prime aged arbitration eligible hitter for a pitcher or a pitcher for a hitter or make trades. But then beyond that, the money, the payroll shouldn't affect their development of players. And that might be the single most discouraging aspect of the last 18 months.
Oh, for sure.
Or 13 months, whatever it is especially on the hitting front, but I don't think the pitching's immune from it either, because it's not like they've had a whole lot of guys stay healthy and pitch well either, younger guys, Feston, Matthews, etc.
Sure.
But on the hitting side, I mean, just line them up from top to bottom, and they got all these, 24 to 28-year-old guys that they drafted, they developed, they brought up. Some of them had immediate success, and now you look at them and it's like none of them are hitting. They've all taken a step backward. None of them, and some of them are healthy and playing, and there's no money required for that. I mean, there is. You got to hire coaches and stuff, but slashing payroll did not affect that. And so I agree with all. I mean, look, the truth is, you get in a situation like this where you collapse down the stretch last year. You go 12-27, and now you have the second worst record in the American League this year, and you're probably headed for 90 losses for the first time in a decade. That pie of blame and discouraging, results. There are so many slices of that. You're going to have some leftovers. You know what I mean? Like,
exactly.
You could cut off a big piece for the Pohlads. You can cut off a big piece for Falvey and Zoll and the analytics department and the coaching and the player development. You got plenty for Rocco. You make sure to give Royce Lewis a piece. Make sure to get. I mean, just there's so much to go around, and I'm not trying to discount that, but I do think at some point. And this is coming from a guy who has ranted about the Pohlads for 20 years. But at some point, you have to not move on from that because it's going to remain a factor. Believe me, we're going to be ranting about the Pohlads. But you have to evaluate everyone else within the circumstances that are going to exist.
And welcome to the end of this video. There's lots more. For another, just click on one of these boxes.
Or click on this circle in the middle to subscribe to all of our Twins Talk.
Thank you.
Gleeman